Morning.
Good morning.
And we apologize for starting a few minutes late, but we are going to get there and it's going to be all worthwhile. We are very, very happy to have you here today as we reflect on and celebrate International Education Week. And there's a little bit of confusion, I think, that's running around Fishler because we were planning to do this on the same day as the monthly Scholars Forum. And so that, that's every second Wednesday. And then with International Education Week being the third week in November, then we decided to move it so that we could have this presentation done in honor of International Education Week. And then we did one other change because one of our presenters is in Asia. And so this is our presenter that's coming through on Zoom this morning. And I asked that if we could possibly back the time up a little bit because it was like before day in the morning. And so, to make that accommodation, we came to 10 o'clock. So even Lance thought we were in the boardroom and he was confused between the 10 o'clock and the 12 o'clock. And, we just tend to do that, but that's okay. It's going to be fine, all right? Everybody's going to realize it, still have people coming in, and so this is all good. So we're very happy to have Alejandro here with us this morning because she and Dr. Tony DiNapoli, they have worked very, very hard in putting together events for the International Education Week, and they open on Monday morning with a very dynamic speaker and Dr. David Rosenblum, who is Dr.
Rosenblum's the dean of
what's his first name?
Don.
I'm getting the Don and the David confused, but it's Dr. Don Rosenblum's son, and he was a very, very interesting speaker, lots of experiences abroad, lots to share with what he's doing with the State Department and all of that. So there was a huge and successful launch of the week on Monday. And again, we thank Alejandro and Tony for laboring with us to see that these events come off. And there's still a lot more to come. If you go, well, many of you probably received the mailing from Alejandro, right? If you didn't, then go on the International
Students webpage.
International Students webpage from NOVA, and you'll see all of the events that are scheduled there for the rest of the week. So thanks a lot, and thanks a lot to Sylvia, who's labored very hard in putting this together today, along with her co-workers here, Dr. Netha, who is on Zoom for us, and Dr. Georgiana Aguelo, who is here in person with us. So we're very, very happy and welcome them to our session. We say the presence of international students have transformed the monolithic culture of higher education institutions worldwide into a multicultural one. And as countries increasingly benefit from student mobility, the competition to attract and retain students has diversified the map. New players have emerged on the international education market scene in the past decade, and society is currently realizing that this is the destination for the future. So in talking with Sylvia and in floating some ideas out among our council and what have you, we want to hear what Sylvia, who's always abroad teaching, and her colleagues are going to share with us in terms of international education. And for you to be able to jump into the conversation is going to be somewhat interactive, but Sylvia will explain that. But we want to just sort of, hear, listen, gain, and share. So, Sylvia.
Okay, thank you again for being here. When I started thinking about this presentation, I don't think if you remember last year I did a webinar. Then I came across a very interesting study regarding how higher education should be prepared for diversity. So I connected with Georgina and Dr. Neri Vanaja because they are so representative of our diversity in Fishler. And we started working together. In this process of different arts, research, regret, because, oh my gosh, why do I start doing this? I'm working so hard. And then reflection. And in my reflections, I realized, could you show the certificate? I'm going to show it around. It is more yellow than the submarine, but I started international education when I was in high school. After my elementary school, I went to a 4 years, what they used to call commercial school, and it was affiliated with a university in New Jersey. So if you see the certificate, it's dated 1958, so you can calculate whatever. And my birthday was the day before yesterday. So I started very early, and that was, they went to my school in Havana. The program was put together by them, and every year they went down there and they run the final exams every year. Actually, there's a school by the same name here in Miami, Instituto Edison, and it's been very prestigious ever since. Couple of decades later, probably 3 of them, I was teaching in the Foreign Trade Institute in Havana when I was a liaison person for field trips from the Hayasinga School of Education. So here am I, without expecting it, again related to international education. Because life is so unexpectable, you never know what's going to happen. 10 years later, or maybe less, after I worked with them for 3 field trips from the Hayasinga School. My picture is still in Hayasinga, and I was wearing the hair like this, and I was surprised because I don't even remember that. So, and I finished the doctoral program, and the next day after my graduation, I went to teach in Bangkok, Thailand. And oh my God, if I ever thought about internationalization and diversity in a class, it was like incredible. I had my first class, 27 students. It is an international school within a university of 1 million students. And it's small institute. It's like the size of Fishler. Small compared with the 1 million students. They have about 4,000 students. And my first class, 27 students from 13 different countries. And I was teaching philosophy of education. So within the 5 more important approaches of philosophy of education, I had representative in the class. So we made role plays and all kind of activities, and they were not acting, they were teaching the same way they used to teach in their homes. So I enjoy diversity there so much that it's engraved in me. Of course, I'm Cuban, and in Cuba, people are colorless. Up to these days, we don't care. My family is mixed, black, white, yellow, blue. We don't care about that. And it is so, so strong that part of my family who came to America in early 61, a couple of them married with black people, and my daughter in Cuba married to a black guy. So there was no connection, but it's engraved in our genes, I guess. So education and internationalization for me is about the same thing. Thank you. I'm going to sell them. They're more yellow than the submarine, but I still love them. And I thank my family every day because they gave me a very good education. I have a very good background.
Now we're going to
the PowerPoint. So here's the way that we are going to organize our presentation. And remember that this is, it's not moving. This is a roundtable, so we are going to present information, and at the end, you're going to be the presenters. So, oh, I love you. So, well, this is a brief introduction. Part of the introduction was made by Dolores. We are going to define some terms that are very important for this debate or discussion. Who we consider international students in Fischler, and the challenges that international students identify. We are going to present that, all of those aspects based on research, the literature research, and also our own experiences. And then at the end, how we recommend or we suggest, or how we want to start the discussion about how we develop diversity skills within our school. Okay? Dolores mentioned already the changes in the world of higher education. New people, new institutions, mobility, the MOOCs, the online, open, so it's easy, and then in this era, education is what you need. It's not, people are willing to go to get a further degree. And competition is what is more challenges for higher education. However, if we are able to create a good environment in our classrooms, we are going to retain and we are going to attract more students. So if we consider, well, competition, tuition, fees for this and that, the economy, this, we cannot change that. But what we can change, and I'm not talking only about faculty, I'm talking to enrollment counselors, I'm talking to every people who has the slightest opportunity to talk to a student, being friendly, being acknowledging their uniqueness, individuals of whatever place they come from, with a smile, with an attitude, we bring more people than we are trying, if we try to reduce the fees or the tuitions, which is not in our hands. So that's the bottom line of our presentation, how we can attract students by just the way we treat them, by just the way we make them feel comfortable within us. In our classrooms, everywhere they see Nova, we bring a smile to their faces because they have received something unhuman from us. That's very simple, and it doesn't cost any money. So I want to read that because I don't want to miss anything. So as institutions recalibrate policies and educational practices, it is important to remember that the execution and implementation of such is done with a human touch. So we cannot, again, we cannot reduce, we cannot eliminate our competitors, but we have to develop our own competitive advantage. Where? In our classrooms. Where? Making students feeling good. Making students feeling proud to be part of Nova Southeastern University and the Fischler School of Education. So, I believe it's my colleagues. Huh? Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm very excited. This and then I woke up at 3 because I went to take media to the airport. So it's a very interesting day for me today. Yeah, while we're have this idea, we have to bring this to the heart of all our people in Fishler. We have to refer to the Vision 2020. It's in there. I don't know it by heart as Dr. Nember is, but I highlighted what not-for-profit university of quality and distinction that engages all students. So it's nothing that we have come up or invented. It's there. So we are trying to translate it to what we can do with our own hands and with our attitudes. Also, this idea is linked to one of the values of NOVA, the core values, and students are the focus of our institution. So that's what we are asking for. Our priorities, resource decision, planning. So this is in alignment with our vision and also with our core values. Thank you. My dear. She's international because she's from Kendall, so.
From the south of the border. Okay. Well, after that big introduction from Sylvia and from Dolores, I think I'm going to be a little bit short, but well. I think you know me all. I'm Georgina Arguello. I am an international person. I'm from Mexico City. I've been here in the country for 13 years, and I actually started here at Nova Southeastern University as an international student. So this topic really gives me a lot of passion, and well, really, this is, really, very, very, very passionate to me because I can refer a lot to this. I am a DC for the international students for the Caribbean, for Asia, and the Latin American people. However, for the purpose of this study, we're only referring for the Asia students and the Caribbean students, which are the ones that speak English, and are the ones that, well, we're gonna refer to this study. You're gonna see more about it right now. So right now, we're gonna come to a little bit of the boring stuff, the literature review, okay? So what defines an international student? I think that it's important in all of these studies to make definitions so we understand what is an international student. Every time that we make definitions and everything, you're gonna see that there are two definitions, an international student and a foreign student. What's an international student? An international student is a person that has crossed borders for the purpose of studying. An international mobile student is one person that has left his or her country of origin to move to another country with the purpose of study. Also, it's a person who is not a resident of their country to study or who received their prior education in another country. Well, that's an example, me, who came here to pursue her education. Now, what's a foreign student? A foreign student is, let me give you the definition so I give it to you exactly. A foreign student is a non-citizen enrolled at an institution of education outside their home country, but who have not necessarily crossed a border to study. So it's pretty simple, the definition, and pretty straightforward. More or less these definitions, it's more for immigration purposes and for statistics. Okay, another one, students who follow completely or mostly a degree program in their own country delivered by foreign providers. That's another.
So that would be the definition that we use for the students that Fishler has?
Exactly. And for the purpose of this discussion, also, English-speaking students, non-US residents, enrolled in doctoral international cohorts belong in the virtual international students category. That's the one that we're using for the purpose of this study. So now I leave the presentation to our colleague Vanaja.
Hello everyone.
Hi.
A very good morning to everyone. I think some people, but for people who don't know me, I'm based in Kuala Lumpur. which is exactly halfway across the world from Florida, with the same climate, the same humidity, but right now I'm 13 hours ahead of you, so my time is about 11:30 in the evening. Sylvia was actually the one who put together the presentation and asked that I join and give a little bit of input for the presentation. So this is the little bit which is where I come in to give a perspective from the Asia students. So let's just continue with the slides and look, after looking at international students, we're looking at what diversity is in higher education. Most of the literature and most of the writing that has been done about diversity is in organizational studies or in work settings, where diversity is largely related to racial differences. But what we thought would be interesting given our context is to look at diversity in higher education. And we find that in education, diversity is discussed in terms of structural diversity, in terms of informal interactional diversity, and classroom diversity. And what has happened in the recent years is even the definition of diversity has increased as educational institutions all over the world have become more and more aware of globalization of higher education as well as international higher education. Can you move the slide, please? Okay, so let's take a look at, actually this slide, there's a part missing, but let me just start with structural diversity. Structural diversity, as it's defined in much of the literature, is where a classroom setting has a variety of diverse groups. Like in Sylvia's case, when she talked about the Thailand example, where she taught with students from 30 different countries. So diversity in terms of structural, in terms of this definition, is the number of different groups that you have in a class setting. Now the second one is, before we go to classroom diversity, is informal interactional diversity. And what that implies is how students interact, the frequency and the quality of interaction among the different groups outside of the classroom. So how do our students in our blended or online courses, how much do they interact outside of the education setting? And the third type of diversity that we find in the literature is what they call classroom diversity, which is the kind of experiences leading to diversity or talking about diversity that we bring into our content and our classroom interaction. So that is depending on for example, the syllabus that we have for our various courses, the way in which the class activities are brought into play, and how diversity in the classroom is actually made obvious to students, and how that is built upon, or how that is enhanced. And next slide, please. So these are the three types of diversities in higher education that's discussed. But what in discussing or looking at this, we also thought that actually, if all of us who interact with international students will realize that there are probably two other types of diversities that we need to think about. And these two, one is geographical diversity. And in terms of geographical diversity, what we mean by geographical diversity is that where we have students who may be, for example, maybe from the US, but are actually based in Asia. That's where my experience is, and I'm sure it's also the same probably for Caribbean students. But in Asia, there are many students here who are expats who work in Asia, but actually are from the US, or from Canada, or from Australia. But what they do find is that because they live in a different geographical region and have lived here for a number of years, sometimes, for example, when they call the MSU help desk, for example, to ask about something, they're asked immediately, oh, they sound American, and hence, why don't you step into the office, or why don't you call us at a particular time? So we think that when we talk about diversity, we also need to consider geographical diversity. And the final type of diversity we thought which was interesting was what we call contextual diversity, which is contextual diversity is where you can be in the same educational setting, but because you are in a different context, it's actually quite different. And an example of contextual diversity would be something like K-12. K-12 in the American setting and K-12 in an international school in Asia are two very completely different things. But we think that that is a different kind of difference or diversity that we thought would be interesting to highlight. Next slide,
Okay,
please.
let me refer, thank you, Vanaja. Let me refer to the contextual, because that not only happens with the international students. We have here, for example, one class where all of our Americans, either residents or citizens, they're here, they are at least all residents. And one of them is a speech pathologist, and 5 of them are teachers, but another 3 or 4 are in business. And they're pursuing a doctoral degree in education, but that's diversity. And that's a very interesting diversity, because their approach to leadership, their approach to meetings, their approach to working in groups is totally different. And if the faculty has to profit from that diversity, put them together in groups. Okay, let's do this, but let me try to enjoy what diversity is going to give them. Not, oh no, they don't know anything about education. Well, you don't know anything about business probably, but let's put together to see how pieces and bits are going to make a more, a wider and a broader and a more in-depth analysis and decision-making process. So,
Sylvia, do you actually see that situation happening in your travels and, you know, that?
no, here, I'm teaching a class in Texas now, a leadership class. Incredibly smart students, very focused, all of them, they are 16. Most of them are school principals or assistant principal, but I have a very talented, 2 talented speech pathologists. And they have a different approach for students or clients, and then I have 2 business people. I have a student who has been working in Wall Street. So what she brings, the same in Jamaica. I have 24 students now. Well, they are now 22. I hope to keep them until the end. And one of the girls was working also in Wall Street, and she's a graduate from Hayazinga. So I'm not saying that she's better, but she has a different mindset. And if you consider, remember all these workshops that we do about the colors of the brain? Even the brain has different colors. So that's the combination, different parts.
Does that alter your presentation, your content that you're sharing?
Oh, no.
The knowledge of that, does it alter how?
No, the way I use that is when I put together them in groups. And when I tell them, I need you to present this, I need you to take this article, and you're going to and this Sunday I send them 4 articles, and I ask them, please give me the order that you want to discuss this, because we are not going to have enough time to discuss them. that gives me an idea of how engaged they are. And I know who's going to tell me this first, and because I've been working with them 2 months and something already.